Let's speak more on this now with Deirdre McKay. She's a professor of sustainable development at Keele University and joins us now live from Newcastle in the UK. Great to have you on the programme once again this week, COP26 week. We just heard there from Ensapeng, who was in South Africa standing on a landfill site and told us that when rubbish decomposes, it releases methane that is 25 times worse than carbon dioxide. So, given this and the focus that we've seen on methane at COP this week, how important is it for us to find sustainable ways to recycle and manage our waste?
It's absolutely crucial that we do a much better job of this. And what you've got there in that landfill sounds to me as if you've got compostable waste, which would be your organics that could be broken down in an industrial composting system. And then you've also got things that should be recycled or could be recycled, and packaging, mostly plastic, that is composite or too complex to recycle and needs to be phased out. So waste is a real mess. And because of that messiness, sitting in the soil, moving down rivers into the ocean, or being burnt, it's exacerbating the climate crisis.
And of course, there was that important pledge this week at COP26 to reduce methane emissions. Will that pledge focus on waste management?
I suspect the methane pledge is going to be more largely directed to agriculture, and there will be some focus on landfill, but I don't necessarily see that it's got a lot of teeth there, largely because of the poor regulation, as they said in South Africa, of the waste sector. There is a lot of non-compliance, a lot of poor implementation, and a lot of out-and-out fraud involved globally.
And globally, how is waste management being handled? And also, there's a lot of industrial responsibility, personal responsibility in what we do with our waste.
Globally, this is something that hasn't had a lot of focus. There is no away. Away is the new here. So we're looking at zero waste systems. We're looking at a circular economy where materials that come out of the waste stream can be easily reprocessed into new variants of the same material. So we have to get much, much more efficient. We can't rely, as they said in that report from Johannesburg, on landfill. Landfill will fill up, and it isn't necessarily stable or environmentally sensitive. It produces lots of terrible effects for the people who live around it, and it will eventually release the materials that haven't decomposed that it's holding into the watershed. So we really need to come up with better solutions. Part of that will be using fewer composite materials and forcing industrial producers of those materials to take extended producer responsibility. We have to put in financial incentives for industry and also for households and consumers.
And where are we, Deirdre, with the fight against plastic? Because there has been such a big focus on the use of plastic bags, for example.
Well, if we were looking at national carbon contributions and plastics were a country, it would be number 5. So we're not doing that well. And the really problematic thing is with the cuts to the use of fuel for transport and heating, the petroleum companies are actually looking at expanding plastics production, particularly targeting consumers in the global south. But a lot of the plastics that are disposed of are packaging. They're not particularly wanted for what they are, and they could easily be substituted with more sustainable, reusable, refillable, or actually biodegradable materials.
And that seems to be an easy one to tackle, doesn't it, Deirdre, the use of plastics? All right, we will leave it there. Always a pleasure to speak to you. We learn so much. Thank you. Deirdre McKay from Keele University.